Options Author Panel. My name is Alexa Zollner. I'll be the moderator for this event. I am one of the co-founders of Grayslake Authorfest. Let me first extend a heartfelt thanks from myself and my co-founders, Melanie Francisco and Z. Laxon, as well as from everyone else involved in making Grayslake Authorfest happen, for attending our third annual event. I truly hope you're enjoying yourselves. We ask that you please silence your cell phones during this panel so as to not distract the authors while they're speaking. Thank you in advance for your cooperation. The four authors before you represent writers who publish using different methods and each have their own unique experience in the world of writing. This panel is 45 minutes long and the format will be as follows. Each of our four panelists will introduce themselves. After that, I have a series of questions I'll be asking. Each author will have an opportunity to answer the questions. Each author will have up to 3 minutes to answer. Shannon and Edward, I'm going to ask that you guys kind of share because you're co-authors. We will leave about 10 minutes for audience members to ask questions at the end of the panel. So authors, we're going to give you 2-3 minutes each to introduce yourself. Please tell us your name, what genres you write in, a little bit about your books, and whether you currently self-publish, publish under like a small indie press, or publish under a traditional press or publishing company. You have up to 3 minutes in each, and you can take your own 3 minutes. Okay. So we will have Gwen first.
Sure. So hi everyone, I'm Gwen Talia, Shaker. I'm primarily a short story writer, and through that I've actually published both with traditional press, so Chicken and I've done small presses, and I've also done self-publish. So I've kind of done a little bit of everything, and I write across genres, so I have a travelogue, I have science fiction, I have fantasy, I have romance, and a few just contemporary stories as well. I have a really great time. She's just fine. So.
Amy?
I'm Amy Bastine. I write for Harlequin Heartwarming. So that is sweet romance, contemporary romance. And that's, the Heartwarming authors, we have self-published some anthologies together, but mainly I do the traditional publishing.
I'm Shannon.
And we're author duo. We write with the pen name S&D Black. That's us. Genre-wise, our main focus right now, since we're still fresh into the game, is our dark fantasy series called Chimera Snare. It's just came out into the world this last August, and so again.
On our wedding anniversary, like
Yeah, we're total North Stanley. Yeah.
And then for us, what we did was we actually started Clearing Publishing. So that was our house. So it was self-published, but then it's right now in Seattle, Florida.
Okay. So the first question, we're going to start with Shannon and Edward. Okay. What drew you to your current method of publishing, and what benefits does it provide you in publishing? And then we'll go to Gwen and then E. Okay. Question.
So it first takes knowing what method is right for your project based on what publishers offer, what they take, and then what they demand of you. And ultimately, and what you want to give at the end, you owe it as yourself. You owe it to yourself as an author to really kind of figure out, and understand your choices. And it's one before you really make one. So we had plenty of time to kind of research our decision and like to make a decision that really fits our needs. And what we wanted was, we wanted to maintain 100% of our rights, to abide by no deadlines, to control what we put on the cover, to tell the story that we want to, and to give our writing, the reverence that it deserves, rather than having our work come solely like it comes to. Thus, that's why it led us to just starting Clearing Publishing. And we're navigating this world as we're navigating a little just entry and into being authors as well. So we're learning a lot.
Yeah, and throughout our journey together, just doing this, we've talked to a lot of authors that publish a number of different ways, and just their own experiences as well. And we researched that pretty in depth, before just making the decision to just carve our own path and start our own imprint. And so we just do things in a kind of a small press way, but with spirit of with spirit of just being an independent author.
Gwen? So, and I primarily self-published at this point. A lot of that is because of the style that I write in, which is short stories. That's harder to get into the publishing route. You can get into it with the small press route, which I have done a few times, but then what's happening that is your royalties are really low because usually you're having one story in anthology that the small press is done. So you're splitting the profit with 15 authors. So in that case, for short stories, I sell a lot of collections. I own all of the rights to all of the stories in there. I make a lot more profit from that. And those are really easy to publish myself. There's not a huge market to sell that traditionally, and I can move really fast. I got into it because of a short stories and just shared online, kind of went viral. People would screenshot it and put it on Pinterest and they thought I had capitalized on this. And I could quickly put together a project and sell it on Amazon, going the indie route versus having to find a press or having to find a traditional publisher. That's the big reason why I went indie.
Katie?
Well, for me, because I write romance, I went with Harlequin, number one, because of the brand recognition, right? I mean, I'm pretty sure everyone here would agree that if you've heard of romance, you've heard of Harlequin. So right away, kind of a built-in audience to sell to. Also, as it's kind of mentioned here, like the amount of things you have to think about, time is a big factor here. And when I have a publisher to do a lot of the legwork for me, this is not my primary job. This is my secondary fun thing that I do on the side. I have a full-time job. I have 3 kids. So I don't have time to do all the things that it would take to self-publish, self-market myself, and all those things. So for me, a traditional publisher takes care of a lot of things. I have a whole team of editors. I have marketing. I have all of that backing me. I'm part of a series, so you have 4 books come out every month. So I have 3 other authors at the same time to help cross-promote each other and things like that where books come out. So it helps me balance all the responsibilities that go with trying to get your book out to other people.
Okay. Then this next question will go Gwen, Amy, and Jane and Martha. So what are some of the challenges of your publishing method and how do you overcome those challenges?
Yeah, so marketing's a real big challenge. Putting everything out myself means I have to do everything myself. So I'm doing the editing, I'm doing the formatting of the book, I'm creating my own covers in many cases, or I'm going to give my own marketing. That is very hard because I also have a day job. Funny enough, my day job is in marketing, which actually makes it, I think, a little harder because then I have a hard time sometimes separating your corporate life from what I'd like to do as an author, and it makes me a little more resistant to do marketing for myself because I'm like, I do this for corporations all the time. I don't want to touch this. So that's definitely one of the struggles for it. The struggles also, I think, are just gaining traction. In many cases, I don't have that opportunity to cross promotion, or when I have those opportunities, it's good I'm working with a small press who can do the marketing or like a half. Because then my royalties are less. So I tend to have to make that choice. Is this a big enough push that I think that the small press can help me with? Sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. I work with a few, there are good ones and bad ones. But those are probably the drawbacks and difficulties of the different paths that I've done.
So because I write for Harlequin series, each series that they put out have very specific parameters that you have to write to. So I write for heartwarming, so that means they are low heat, no heat. You have to build a bigger community. You have to include family and things into those versus maybe their romance line, which is primarily just the hero and heroine getting together and a little more heat. So one thing that I would say that the challenge is I always have to make sure that my ideas fit into that criteria, right? I have to write to that line specifically. My friend and I, who are both here signing, we were talking earlier about how you get notes back from the editor you can't say that, or I'm sure self-publishers don't have somebody telling them they can't say that, or and it just had an edit come back to me where I had a line in the book that said, and it fell on deaf ears, and she barked that nope, you can't say that. So they are I like the brand having a brand behind me, but the brand has to support itself and make sure I fit into the brand, if that makes sense.
I kind of feel that, just doing things that the way we do, we alleviate a lot of those challenges that you mentioned. With what we do in setup, we have like a real love for the project that we have. So digging into it, we're just developing it and doing what we do. That's really posing challenges per se. I know we do edits and promote market. Everything for me is on our own. But that's not to say that it poses challenges necessarily. We all
Let's leave it does.
there is that, but we kind of brush something. But yeah, it's like I think the one big challenge, of course, is just the cost aspect of just doing your own large press runs like we did. A lot of people that I think when we tell people what we did, like how we got our books, they probably look at us like we're crazy. But
And hard.
yeah. But we really wouldn't have it any other way, just because we have complete 100% control over everything that we do, and that's really the way that we prefer to automate.
Don't we still we have many hats that we both wear, and it really is just learning. I mean, for me, I think that is like kind of part of the struggle is you have to wear these hats and you have to learn how to do everything, whether it's, from editing to formatting, and then because of marketing yourself, that can be kind of hard too, because as an author and then as a publisher, you're splitting yourself in two different directions when you'll know that one side is kind of maybe not so much suffer, but not get the attention it might deserve, because now we're going to focus to create a film versus focus on like other doing things.
Well, it does help that they're doing this.
Okay.
So talk to me a little bit, this next question, once a book's first draft is complete or nearing completion, what steps do you guys go through to get a book ready for publication? How does the editing, publishing, and marketing process work within your publication method? So we're going to start with Amy for this one.
So this is where the fact that I'm a big team and having anyone's in handy for me. So when I contract a book with them, I have already given them like a brief idea of like what my books are going to be about. I usually sell them 4 books at a time in a series kind of idea. And then for each book, I have to write a full proposal. And the full proposals usually due 15 months before that book is going to come out. So that proposal has all of your major plot points, kind of what your conflict's going to be, how those conflicts are going to get resolved. So you have a really good outline of what you're doing. And that's about 15 months before it gets published. And then about a year before it's published is when I have to have the first draft in. I send that to my editor. She will read it. She will give me feedback. So she reads it just for content at first, and then she just gives me some feedback on the content of the story. Are the plot lines strong? Is the conflict strong? This chapter totally stopped the whole pacing of your book. You need to change something up in here. So she looks at it just from that point, and then gives it back to me. I work on it, give it back to her. Then it goes to copy and line edit, where they format it. They do all the grammar and spelling checks. They give it. They also, it's really nice because they will give suggestions on oh, maybe you want to word this a little differently, or maybe this shortens this up a little bit, or makes this sound better. So I do appreciate that, and then it's given back to me to decide: do I want to take those suggestions? Do I catch anything else? Do I want to add anything else? And then it goes back to my editor, and then it comes back to me one last time for final edits, and I read through it all and make sure everyone has caught everything, because you would be surprised that after 4 people have read this book multiple times, there's still going to be one little spelling error in there, or one little, B spelled with 2 E's instead of 1 E somehow slips through. So I go through it one last time to make sure I think it's perfect, and then it goes out. So that all is done almost, by that point, we're almost maybe 10 months away from publication. So this book that I have coming out in July, I haven't seen any of this since last summer. I finished this last summer. We edited it all, we did everything, and then they printed it up and sent it to me, and
Yeah, right. Here we go.
Okay. Shouldn't it ever?
I think for us, I think the first thing that we kind of like do when we're getting ready to release a book is get the cover in order. That we have an illustrator that we've worked with twice now, and it's when it comes to like our what we eventually have to end up doing with like the promotion and marketing and stuff like that. A visual thing to accompany it that does help. So thankfully our illustrator has been very crucial in that step. So we reach out to him and that really helps us put like promotional and marketing things together once all that is kind of squared away. The editing, of course, is a big, huge step for that it has huge considerations because it's two of us do it all on our own.
Yeah, we've essentially had like a crash course and then once they didn't into from start to finish. So once we have that front end script, like you're saying, we do we give it our illustrator to give it its identity. Then because we're doing everything ourselves, like the biggest thing to consider for us is in our respect is to kind of take our time to make sure things don't slow through the cracks. You have your final manuscript, you have to edit everything, and like I was saying, like you can have several people read it, have a panel of beta readers, and edits later, and you can just miss like the tiniest little thing, and you're like, how did this happen? I swear it wasn't like this before, but we are human, so. But it's lining up everything and just making sure to kind of make sure everything hits. And art reading is another part of it as well towards the end. So it's just making sure all these pieces of hyperaligned and fitting together. And we have several lines of that process too, because we set up deadlines.
Yes, exactly. Our own deadline. So you can take as much time as you need.
Good.
My process is probably a little different because, again, I do short stories. I tend to write and publish short stories on like my Substack, on my blogs throughout the year, and then I collect them. And so a big thing that I do in my process when, I put them all together, I then have to come up with a scene. So I do a lot of analysis for what motifs show up in all of these stories. What's the primary genre? What's the primary inspiration? And then from there, after this time around, actually the book came out next week. So I changed my process a little bit and I crowdsourced. So I actually asked my followers, like, what do you like of these 4 options of a title? What do you like of these 4 options of a cover? So I can kind of get this sort of awareness and momentum going from people who are already following me and dive it into the process of the book. So starting the marketing early. And then I do ask for art readers, and it's a lot of editing. So I tend to do a human read through. I also have an audio reader, so they will read my document out loud with an automatic voice, so I can kind of things that might guess. And then I will do, I have a few editing softwares, so they'll do the grammar checks, so I read it all again when I get the free copies from paperback. And then I tend to do a lot of marketing pushes. I try, so when I know I have something coming out, I will schedule myself in podcasts. So I will do the skipper posts on social media. I tend to do a lot of marketing around launch, and then I back off because, again, I have a day job and other things that are going on. And I think you guys mentioned it before, that shift from pushing the book to then having for creative time. So I try to bulk it all into like the 6 weeks roughly before launch. And then I go back to what do I look up next? And then just on.
So talk to me, I'm going to ask Amy this a little bit. Talk to me a little bit about agents. Do you have an agent? Like, if so, how do you pick one?
I don't have an agent. I do have friends who do choose to have an agent. Harlequin does for their series writers, they don't require an agent. If you wanted to write a single title for them, you do need to be agented, or you need to have a backlist with that in series for them to consider you for a single title.
What are some of the benefits that it can be? How do you then, I'm going to ask this of everybody too, what do you do with your marketing to get people to see your book? Talk to me a little bit about that process a little bit more. Like, what methods do you use? What
medias or anything do you guys use for that? So we'll start with you guys.
We started just kind of, again, a crash course in just thinking what would work. And naturally, you think folks' eyes would be more on, meta, like so Instagram, Facebook, things like that. So we did a couple of campaigns. We used Pinterest and tried to get a couple of reels going to get the eyes on it. And we've done newsletters as well to promote the campaign or promote the launch, as well as us just getting on social and just posting about it as well.
Yeah, and I think the big part of it is nowadays, leveraging your social media is a helpful tactic for a lot of authors. Does help a lot. Building your following can be a bit of a slow crawl, but
Especially when you're doing it yourself, because for us, out of all of those methods, what we have found is like word of mouth based, talking with people. As we have done, we launched in August, and we have done over 50 shows. And we have day jobs too. So you're basically eating, breathing, and sleeping, just getting this book out there, and the most meaningful connections, and the way that we've started growing our audience just locally, organically, that way, talking with people, letting them know about the project. And I think it's been far more effective than just jumping on social media, just to kind of, at least, advertise that way, because you think it's getting into the right hands, but it's just visual. That's you're just getting eyes on it. As far as sales and things like that, it doesn't necessarily translate as well there, which is another reason leaving it for us. It's a bit hard because we're trying to break out and get that visibility.
Yep, and being brand new, just saying, like I mentioned earlier, it's you kind of have to start at the local level for one thing. That's really where the big fire is. As the real fire is, you're engaging, with your local people, fellow readers, and getting a chance to just talk about, not only our series, but our story as well. Of how we just came.
So I tend to do a lot of awareness content marketing. So content marketing is the idea that you give away content for free in order to build awareness. So you see that a lot in nonfiction spaces, I am a birdist, and so here is article after article about different birds, defending the article, and I also have a book. It's a little harder if you're a fiction writer. I probably have the advantage of being a short story writer, so I can release flash fiction via my Substack. I have a Tumblr blog because it's very text-based, very Instagram, which is image-based. So I will share stories throughout the year, and then stories that people really enjoy. I will bookmark, and I'll go back and be like, hey, this is now part of a collection you can buy at Amazon. And so it starts to be shared around with the links. I also tend to get myself onto podcasts. So I use a website called Podmatch, and it will match me with podcast hosts. And so I will do live shows, all the YouTube shows, things like that. And then I also do the whole circuit, which has been very helpful. I probably sell more at a local event like this because people do like that connection with an author, which is why I used to do really well on TikTok, because I would show my face. But I don't use TikTok anymore for one reason or another. But Instagram, Blue Sky, I don't use that app. I tried paid ads, they don't work very well. But things where I can engage with people, that's also why I mentioned before with my book coming up, I was running polls on my social media. So I could get potential readers already engaged with what I was considering, which I feel like helps. And that's most of what I do. And then the other thing you have to think about from the space, I don't know if you do this with Harlequin, is marketing year-round. I tend to do that big push and then the launch, but I'm always having something on social media, usually around big events. So I'm a queer author, so I have a lot of things right now in June that just here's the break with all of my books. Or if it's a specific disability day, I will do a post around that. So can't stop, unfortunately. But that's maybe what I do for marketing.
Anything that you'd like to add to that?
So I would say a traditional publisher is going to encourage you to be active on social media and to kind of keep your audience engaged that way. Like you said, I've also done a lot of book blog tours where people will review the book and then post it on their book blog. That got the book out to a lot of different people. There were a lot of different companies when I first started that would help organize a book tour for you. I have used Facebook. I would love to get on Book Talk. I mean, romance and Book Talk really go hand in hand.
Yes.
Some books that I can't believe become so popular, I know got their following on TikTok, and I think, oh,
That it just
Look.
it's that for it's easy to get on there, but it's done this way.
yeah. Yeah, so a nice thing about being with Harlequin is they have, again, their own social media things, so I will do things for them, like my editor will reach out and say, you know, your book's coming out, do you want to write an article for the blog? Or could you, I've previously done, like, they do free online reads, so you write a story, you write a short story connected to your book. So maybe it introduces some characters from your book, and you put the free online read on, and then they promote you as your full novel will be coming out, you know, a few months later. So that's an advantage of having the big business behind you, using their marketing team and their social media.
Good boy.
What would you guys say is the most important piece of advice you think aspiring authors should hear, and what makes it so important? We'll start with Shannon in that order.
No. I'd say write from the heart, and you write with intent and honesty, and that's really the best way that you'll find your voice, what you're getting into writing. And you figure out what you want to write genre-wise, and you can doubt whether you want, but as long as it's so comes from just come from where some are honest, and I think that's the best way to find your voice. That was like what will essentially like make you stand out.
For me, research, ask questions, don't sign things unless you really understand what you're signing, because depending on how you want your project to be, you don't want to sign your rights away. If this is something that you want to maintain, if you can have like legal advice before contracts, definitely do it. It's worth doing. But really, never be afraid to take your time. If you can manage it as well, that's one thing I like to keep pretty close to me. And of course, to tell the story that you want to tell the way that you want to tell it. If you're running from the heart and that's what's important to you, then definitely do it that way.
Gwen?
I would say join a writers group. I feel like a lot of writers that I met, it helps to have a community, because then there are people who can hold you accountable, or people who are willing to meet you at a coffee shop, and sometimes that's all you need. You're like, I just need to have what I say to writing time. Who will get a body double? So that is the best thing that I can say for an aspiring writer. Find a community that can help you, that will write with you, and will encourage you to not stop. So,
Amy?
I would say, one, keep reading. Read. Because you're going to be a better writer the more you read things that you like and that you think are good. And then keep writing, because the more you do something, right? Practice makes perfect. So the more you do it, the better you're going to get at it. And don't be afraid to let people read your writing, because you're not going to get better unless you do get a little feedback. And sometimes you got to have a tough skin, because sometimes you're going to get that feedback and I'm like, not that good. And that's okay. That's how you learn. I mean, I think you can't get better if you don't ever have anybody tell you what you need to get better at, right? So don't be afraid. Right, like join a writing group and read some things. Let people read your writing and give you some feedback. I know that was really helpful for me in the beginning too.
There's a lot of bad news on Instagram that I've come across that with a toll fee and chats that one might put together and figure together, and yeah, I've seen pop up where they'll pop in and be like, hey, does anybody need an accountability buddy? And be like, yeah, just kind of keep you on your task, make sure that you're doing what you do. So yeah, there's lots of bad things out there.
The very first story I just wrote for myself. I had this idea in my head, and I would just sit at my laptop every night and just write. And my husband would be like, what are you doing out there? I'm like, just write the story. He's like, for who? I'm like, for me. And I, liked it, and I thought it was good. And then I was like, well, maybe I shouldn't just write it for me. And I let someone read it. Then all of a sudden, somebody's like, you have too many tenses. You keep switching from past tense to present tense. And I was like, oh gosh, I'm terrible at this. But no, but I learned, like, I had to pay attention to that, right? Like, I was just writing what was coming out, but then someone pointed out, like, no, you gotta stay consistent with this. And I was like, oh, I've never forgotten that lesson, I tell you. My tenses are right on now.